What started as a loud internet debate has now turned into a confusing mix of rumors, assumptions, and fast-moving social media talk. And by the time people started paying attention, the situation had already taken on a life of its own. While Claressa Shields was focused on her training and posting her usual confident updates, a completely different story was unfolding online around Papoose and his recent behavior during the hype surrounding major New York Knicks playoff games. Ticket prices for these high-demand games have reportedly skyrocketed, with regular seats climbing from a few $100s into the thousands, and premium floor seats being discussed online at extremely high resale figures that only a small group of people can realistically afford. In the middle of all this excitement, Papoose appeared on social media multiple times talking passionately about the Knicks, New York pride, and his desire to be part of the big game atmosphere, even referencing basketball legends and moments from the team's history in a way that caught attention. However, what really got people talking was not just his excitement, but the way he seemed to be publicly engaging with strangers online, almost like he was trying to find a way into the arena through social connections rather than private arrangements. As clips circulated, viewers began dissecting his tone, his repeated posts, and even small details like the same outfit and hat appearing in multiple videos, which fueled online jokes and theories about what was really going on behind the scenes. Some users argued that a person with long industry experience like him would normally have private access or established connections for such events, while others suggested that circumstances may not be as simple as they appear. At the same time, Claressa Shields remained active online, continuing her usual confident presence, which some people interpreted in different ways depending on their perspective. Supporters saw her as focused and unbothered, while critics online tried to connect unrelated dots between her public comments about getting what she wants in life and the ongoing conversations surrounding her personal relationship. The situation became even more complicated when old discussions resurfaced about money, management deals, and earnings tied to Claressa's boxing career. Online commentators started repeating figures and estimates, suggesting how much money might pass through promoters, managers, and contracts before reaching the athlete, though none of these claims were officially confirmed. Still, the internet tends to amplify speculation, and soon people were drawing conclusions based on incomplete information. Some even began questioning whether financial decisions, lifestyle displays, and travel moments shared online were being interpreted correctly or simply exaggerated for attention and engagement. Meanwhile, Papoose's repeated online presence during the Knicks conversation kept fueling discussion. In multiple posts, he expressed frustration and passion about not being physically present at the games, sometimes framing it as a personal mission to represent New York culture. He mentioned famous players and past moments in Knicks history, which made some fans laugh, while others felt he was being overly dramatic for attention. The comment sections under his posts turned into a mix of jokes, criticism, and defense, with people arguing about whether his behavior was harmless enthusiasm or something more calculated. Adding to the online chaos, unverified screenshots and alleged messages began circulating, claiming to show conversations about ticket access and favors. These claims spread quickly, as often happens on social media, but there is no clear confirmation that they are real. Still, the existence of such rumors added another layer to an already messy narrative, causing people to speculate about whether relationships, influence, or industry connections were being used in ways the public does not fully understand. As the story continued to grow, different interpretations emerged. Some people believed it was simply a case of fans reacting too strongly to social media content, while others felt it pointed to deeper issues around money, access, and image in celebrity relationships. The truth, however, remains unclear, buried under layers of online commentary, edited clips, and emotional reactions from viewers who are only seeing fragments of a much larger situation. What is clear is that social media has turned a simple sports moment into a wide-reaching conversation about fame, perception, and the way quickly information can spiral without full context. In the end, what people are really watching is not just about basketball tickets or online posts, but about how easily narratives form in real time. A few videos, a few comments, and a few assumptions were enough to create a full story that feels bigger than its original moment. Whether any of the speculation reflects reality or not, the situation shows how fast public opinion can shift when celebrity life, sports culture, and internet commentary collide in one space. Allegedly, and this needs to be said carefully, There are discussions happening behind the scenes involving Claressa Shields and her team about tightening financial control and reviewing recent shared expenses over the past several months. Nothing is officially confirmed, but the direction of those conversations suggests concern rather than comfort. In situations like this, especially for a high-level champion, things usually stay quiet for a long time until pressure starts building around money, contracts, sponsorships, and public image. Once brands start asking questions and management teams start double-checking records, everything gets reassessed very quickly. It is not usually loud or dramatic in public. It is handled privately, with decisions made behind closed doors. That is often how serious financial and business relationships come to an end, not through arguments online, but through careful review of numbers that no longer align with expectations. At the same time, the public attention around the New York Knicks playoff atmosphere has created its own wave of excitement and controversy. Madison Square Garden becomes a completely different world during big games, filled with celebrities, athletes, entertainers, and high-profile guests. Seats that normally cost a few $100s suddenly rise into the thousands, and premium locations become almost unreachable for the average fan. In that environment, every seat matters and every person in the building is noticed. That is why conversations started online about who would be attending, where they would be sitting, and how they secured access in such an expensive and competitive setting. When people began linking certain individuals to these events, speculation naturally followed, even when there was no confirmed information behind it. Papoose became a central name in that discussion after appearing repeatedly on social media talking about the Knicks, New York pride, and his desire to be part of the moment inside the arena. He referenced past players, historic Knicks memories, and emotional connections to the team, which gave his posts a passionate tone. However, what stood out to viewers was not just the enthusiasm, but the repeated nature of the content. Similar videos, similar clothing, and similar messaging made people online start analyzing whether there was a deeper reason behind the constant posting. Some interpreted it as simple fandom, while others saw it as attention-seeking behavior tied to trying to secure access to the games through any available connection. As these conversations grew, Claressa Shields continued her own public presence, posting as usual with confidence and focus. Some people saw her posts as normal expressions of self-assurance, while others began attaching meaning to her words based on the ongoing online chatter. In reality, social media often mixes unrelated situations together, creating connections that may not actually exist. Still, once public narratives start forming, they tend to move independently of facts, driven more by perception than proof. Adding to the situation, older discussions about money, management, and career earnings resurfaced online. People began talking about how income is distributed in professional sports, how promoters and managers take percentages, and how athletes sometimes end up with less than what the public assumes. These conversations are often based on estimates and speculation, rather than confirmed financial documents, but they still influence how audiences interpret what they see online. Once numbers enter the discussion, even loosely, people start connecting them to lifestyle posts, travel moments, and relationship dynamics. Meanwhile, Papoose's repeated posting pattern became a major talking point. The constant recycling of similar videos led some viewers to believe there was a strategy behind it, possibly aimed at shaping public perception or drawing attention at the right moment. Whether intentional or not, the repetition created a sense of buildup, as if something larger was about to happen. Others simply saw it as a passionate fan expressing himself in an unusual way. The truth likely sits somewhere between interpretation and exaggeration, as is often the case with viral online stories. Rumors also began circulating about ticket access and seating arrangements at Madison Square Garden, with unverified claims suggesting that certain invitations or seats may have been influenced by personal or professional connections. However, none of these claims have been confirmed, and social media is known for amplifying partial or inaccurate information. Still, once these ideas enter public conversation, they tend to spread quickly and shape how people view everything else connected to the situation. What makes this entire story so unstable is how quickly different narratives are being layered on top of each other. One moment it is about basketball tickets, the next it is about relationships, then money, then management, and then back to public perception again. Each layer adds more confusion, making it harder to separate fact from assumption. In situations like this, the online audience often fills in the blanks themselves, turning small details into large conclusions. At the core, this is less about a single event and more about how fast modern attention moves. A few videos, a few posts, and a few rumors can create an entire storyline that feels bigger than reality. Whether or not any of the speculation turns out to be true, the situation shows how quickly public opinion forms when fame, sports culture, and personal relationships all collide in one highly visible space.